Recently, there's been a lot of debate about following the 4% rule. If you know what that is, it's an informal rule that basically says that if you had $1,000,000, you should only withdraw 4% each year to live, which is about $40,000. That should keep your $1,000,000 intact and still allow some growth to fight against inflation. In other words, it should help you to keep from ever running out of money. But will it? Well, if you're on the verge of retirement, or even if you're recently retired, I really think this short video will open your eyes to the possibilities and the dangers that are out there. And I'll even give you a couple ways that you can not only protect yourself, but also enjoy your best retirement. Now, the debate about the 4% rule is all over the place among financial so-called gurus. Some are suggesting that it needs to be lowered down to 3%, and others are emphatically slamming the table that it should be more like 8%. I can easily make a case that both sides of that argument might be right and at the same time might be wrong. But what I'm really here to do is tell you to stop drinking the Kool-Aid from anyone serving up generic advice that speaks about rules or one-size-fits-all ideas. Those are good. They're good for one thing, really, just general education. And go ahead, read articles, listen to financial shows to gain knowledge and understanding of how finances work in general. I love that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the strongest planning is customized for the individual, for the person, for you. There's a tool out there that many planners use called a Monte Carlo analysis. And there's a very good reason why we often run these for our clients. It takes something into consideration called sequencing. Now, sequencing is basically the order that events occur, sort of like flipping a coin. We all know there's a 50-50 chance of that being heads every time. But when you flip it, it never goes heads, tails, heads, tails. There's an unpredictability to that sequence, right? Well, what if the first 3 flips come out heads? How does that change your mindset for the 4th time? Are you inclined to think that there's a trend happening and there's no way that it's going to happen 4 times? Or are you thinking that the trend is your friend and the next one will probably also be heads? So the reality is that it's still a 50-50 chance, but the sequence has affected you one way or another. Here's an easy way to visualize how sequencing can really affect you. Imagine this. All right, go with me on this. Your friend jumps on a sailing yacht, sails all the way down the coast from Maine down to Miami. Does it in about 3 weeks and tells you all about how amazing that experience was, right? Where they stopped along the way, things they saw, how the whole trip was absolutely amazing. So you say, I'm in, man. I want to go do that. You jump on that exact same sailing yacht the next year, leaving Maine just like your friend did, and then before you start out, all hell breaks loose. The first 5 days are nothing but storms, high seas, pelting rain. The conditions basically knock out your navigation system, and you're left with just a basic compass, old school style, right? But enough for you to recognize that you've been pushed way off course. Even though you try really hard to get back on course, there's been damage to the sails, say one of them is ripped now. You can't move as quickly as you expected, which makes your whole trip a lot longer. And now you'll have to ration your food to make this whole thing work. Ugh, it's a nightmare, right? But needless to say, this was not the journey you signed up for, but now you're stuck in it and you're forced to make the best of it. Why? Why did that happen? You did everything that your friend did. Why such a different result? Sequencing. By sheer luck, his timing was ideal, yours was not. And that is exactly why we run a Monte Carlo analysis, in which factors all kinds of different possible outcomes over and over again, a total of 1,000 times. That gives you a much more realistic look at what your retirement looks like, not just today, but in the future years as well. It helps to capture the what ifs that life throws at us unexpectedly. Let me show you an example of it in action. Here's an example of someone with about 2.5 million saved up already who plans to work another 10 years. Now, this person is also an aggressive saver, which is why they have so much saved already. And you can see that building up in the next 10 years. When they eventually do retire here at age 62, they might have around 5.5 million, but it also shows that that range could be higher, almost 7 million, or lower, down around 4.5 million. Those ranges are big, right? I mean, you could have between 4.5 million up to 7 million. That's a $2.5 million range. But that's not even your entire range. You could still be well above those ranges or sadly below them. The visual I showed tries to capture your highest probability outcome. An easy way to think about this is like driving your car at night. Your headlights are showing you what's right out there in front of you. They're capturing most of what you probably need to be paying attention to at any given time. That does not mean that something can't blindside you literally out of the side and surprise the heck out of you. But it happens on very rare occasions. Those chances are low. And remember, most of planning is based on probabilities and adapting as you go. That's important. Speaking of adapting, let's take a look at a more detailed hypothetical in this client scenario and see how we can apply factors that may change their currently strong retirement and push them off course. Again, we see this person hopes to hit retirement at age 62 with great momentum, with living expenses at about $125,000 a year. And you can see their chart still continues to climb through retirement, which is ideal and provides a ton of flexibility and peace of mind to a retiree, no doubt. Don't underestimate how important peace of mind is when you're trying to enjoy your life. At the bottom, though, you can see they have a high probability of success, which for many people is defined as never running out of money. But now, let's look how that picture might change if we increase their living expenses from $125,000 to $180,000 a year. Let it recalculate, and you'll see a massive drop in their later year values, almost back down to where they are today. In fact, on the low end of that range, you can see there's now a greater chance of them running out of money before they die. Look how that probability number has dropped. That was just showing them how spending too much could change their course. Now, much like my sailing analogy earlier, let's create sort of a perfect storm of factors that might really knock them off course. We've already increased their expenses. Now, let's see what happens if Social Security payments get reduced in the future by, let's say, 25%. Again, wait for the calc, and you see it has dropped this bottom number even further. One more factor change now. What if life throws them a curveball and they come to me and say, hey, I can't keep doing this anymore. I need to retire earlier at age 60. Recalculation. Wow, that made a massive difference, didn't it? It almost cuts their original probability of success in half, actually way down past that. And now more than half of the likely scenarios out there are showing them running out of money before age 90. This is not good. And if they need to make sudden change 2 years even earlier, let's say they retire at 58, look at that recalc. It's devastating. The probability has dropped so low, and all of the likely scenarios are showing them running out of money before age 90. That makes me sad. You do not want your numbers to look like that. The stress levels will be through the roof, and you'll lose control over what should be your great years. So I'm going to give you 3 quick ideas to prevent this from ever happening. 1, run a Monte Carlo analysis for yourself. In our office, we call this our future you, because it's not generic. It's your future using your numbers. 2, revisit that Monte Carlo every couple of years, maybe 1 to 3 years. Keep it up to date. And 3, make adjustments based on those revisions in order to cushion the blows and strengthen your outcomes. Set your income retirement, but don't keep it static. Make it dynamic. Let it float up or down depending on factors like inflation and portfolio performance. Example, when Social Security payment kicks in, lower your withdrawals from your investments. Here's what I mean. Follow me on the left side of this page here. So if you're withdrawing $8,000 a month from your investments in early retirement, and then Social Security kicks in, and now that's giving you about $1,500 a month, then reduce your withdrawal down dollar for dollar to $6,500 a month, which is in line with your plans. That keeps your income level the same, but it puts far less strain on your assets, on your portfolio. Not adjusting that, as you can see on the right, will now leave you with more spending dollars than you said you originally needed, which will entrap you to spend more each year than you ever anticipated. So to bring it back all around here, so remember my example of sequencing and the two vastly different experiences on the same yacht. What I'm saying is that the beginning of a long journey is super important. So that's not to say that out of the gates you should be on high alert or stressed out all the time. But what I am saying is to not bury your head in the sand here. Keep aware, stay vigilant when you get knocked off course. And life's going to knock you off your course. But small corrections whenever needed will keep you in the ranges and enjoying your life. Now, we run these future you reports to not only keep you informed, but to empower you by showing you all the things you have the ability to control. And then that gives you the confidence and the power to act. So if you've been doing this kind of analysis for yourself already, then good for you. But if you haven't gone through this simple exercise yet, just reach out to us and we'll walk you through it. We love this stuff. And I hope this video was helpful.